It's great. Here you are at now known as Russell E. Diethrick Jr. Park. In your day, it was probably known as College Stadium.
That's what it was.
And you were talking earlier today that your paths early on in life passed through this place.
Yeah, 1982, Utica Blue Sox. Well, I played at the University of Oregon for 4 years, and then that summer, my last year, which would have been '76 actually, played on an independent team in the Northwest League, and then the following year did the same thing. And the guy that owned the team, no, actually, I was a different owner. In 1980, played again on an independent team, and one of the owners was Van Schley. And Van Schley and Marv Goldklang owns Baseball America, and Bill Murray, the comedian, they owned the team in Utica. And I had already played for one of their friends' teams before, so that's how that happened. So they called and they said, "Hey, you want to pitch again?" And I said, "Damn right I do." So that's how I ended up there in Utica.
Did your paths cross with Bill Murray's?
Oh yeah, he sat in actually a couple years later in '91. I was a pitching coach in Salt Lake City, and they owned the team. And he used to sit on the bench with us and ride the bus with us. And yeah, he was. Well, let's put it this way: when you see him in the movies that he's been in, he's not acting. He just being himself. He just being himself.
Was that a distraction for you guys? I mean, Bill Murray would come in the stands. There's got to be a buzz.
Well, in Utica it was, because the dugouts were just made out of a couple posts and some plywood, and the fans were right beside us, and he was conscious of that, so he would wait till the last minute and he'd slip into the dugout really fast and watch the games, and sometimes people would be after him for autographs and stuff, because that was when the year Caddyshack came out. That was 1982. Yeah. So he was good.
You're here at this field. Do you have any remembrances of this ballpark?
Well, not of the park, but actually a sad instance coming into the park. There's a big hill that you got to drive up coming from the east. And I remember on the bus when we were coming up, there was a semi coming down, and a guy had no brakes, and we were halfway. And I remember that night at the ballpark, I asked the policeman here who was working if there was an accident. He said, "Yeah, there was," and the guy didn't make it. So that's one thing I remember, because you don't see that every day. But
and of course, I looked down here at the Woodlawn Motel. Was that your?
That's where we stayed. I remember, because we'd change clothes there and walk right over to the ballpark. Yeah, 3 or 4 of us to a room. Yeah. In
'82, the Jamestown team was part of the Expos.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. After that, I went back to Eugene, Oregon, and I coached American Legion in the summertime for about 6 years, and then in the spring either coached at a high school or a junior college, and then got hired by the Royals, by Kansas City as a rookie ball coach, and then 2 years with their AA team in Memphis in '90 and '91.
You're currently in the role in Detroit as performance enhancement. And how did one go from a baseball player to a kind of a clinic using the ball field and the dugouts?
Excellent question, and it was all fairly fortuitous in that I was a pitching coach in the Marlins system, and there was a gentleman by the name of Harvey Dorfman who wrote a book with a guy named Carl Keel, and the title of the book was A Mental Game of Baseball. And Harvey was working for the Marlins in the current capacity that I'm in now. And I remember him asking me one day, he said, I can't tell the whole story, but he wanted to know if I was interested in doing what he was doing, and I said no. I said I like being a pitching coach. So 5 consecutive years he asked me, would I want to, and I said no, 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 and no. And then the 6th year I was a pitching coach AA for the Marlins in Portland in the Eastern League, and Harvey went to Tampa Bay with Larry Rothschild because they were good friends. And then that's when I was asked by the front office of Marlins if I'd do Harvey's job. And it was good timing for me, and I said, yeah, I would. So that's when it started, actually, in the fall of '98.
Was there clinically, or academically, I should say, part of your world which, in fact, led you to
Oh yeah, when I worked for the Royals, I went to graduate school and I got a master's degree in counseling and psychology from the University of South Dakota. I did it in between seasons, and that's why Harvey was asking me. First he asked me, he said, you know, there's only 5 people that I know of that can do this job and you're one of them. And I said, well, how can you say that? And he said, well, you only have to know 3 things to do this. He said, 1, you have to be able to get along with people. 2, you have to be a baseball guy. And 3, you have to have some common sense. And he said, maybe I can teach you some common sense. So that's how all that started with Harvey. Yeah.
How does when you first sit down, and I mean, I realize part of it is just being among the people, and they get a confidence and they can talk to you, but at some point they got to say, why are you here?
Right. Well, that's a good question, and I answer that for them when they very first show up. One of the most important times for me is when our newly drafted guys show up in the Gulf Coast League or our team in Norwich in the New York Penn League, and I sit down with them, I tell them who I am, what I do, how it works, and the same thing with George. I tell them about Dr. Carlo and who we are and what we do and how it works, so they know right away. I sit in the dugout for all the games except the big league games. I can't sit in there. I go up in a video room.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if Connecticut were playing here in Jamestown tonight, would you normally suit up and be over here?
Well, I don't know. If I was with them on the road for the series, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, you'd be interviewing me in uniform right now. Yeah.
And now you're, well, pretty casual guy right now.
That's right. It's a different uni.
Yeah. I still find when the year is done, do you do some sort of annual report to Dave? I mean, is there a way to sort of, I've met with 100 ball players and I reached 16 of them or something?
Well, that's a good question, and I do give him a report, as a matter of fact, but it's nothing specific because he knows it can't be. Right. So, but I let him know numbers-wise how many people I'm coming in contact with and where I'm going, and so he knows how many people are being touched by this. Yeah.
Do you give seminars at all?
Yeah. George and I have been trying to put some things together, and yeah, we talk about the type of work that we do with groups. Yeah, we did a seminar with the staff in Toledo Mud Hens. We had their whole staff, and we did about an hour and a half long seminar with them. Yeah, it was really fun.